Okay, how do I say this? To all the people out there who are spreading rumors that there are pallets of bricks spread out on the streets for Antifa to go throw through the windows of small communities, you completely took the bait. You bought into a bullshit narrative on social media. And I think it's time that we admit what's really going on here. And for those of you who don't know, there are several YouTube videos now about supposedly how Antifa had sent these pallets of bricks into cities in order to cause riots and give them ammunition to throw these bricks through windows. I even read the initial post about it, and it said, oh yes, Bill Gates owned, and Berkshire Hathaway, which is owned by, I won't even go into this. Basically, they're saying that Bill Gates and Warren Buffett were responsible for a company for sending out these bricks to these Antifa sites, as if billionaires would need to put their names on bricks that are like $1 a piece, right? And put these pallets in the middle of the city so they could throw it through windows. And supposedly this rumor went out that they were going to, Antifa was going to not only send pallets of bricks, but that they were going to bus huge groups of Antifa people into these small towns, and they were going to invade the white neighborhoods. Now, I'm sorry for laughing, but this is like the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I have for all day have been thinking about how to address this, and I thought I would do a serious video, but I seriously can't believe you people believe this shit. You are so fucking stupid. It is unbelievable. I can't believe that you would stand out in the middle of your town with assault rifles and full ammo and fatigues to defend your town against people who would never show up. And okay, you people are way too paranoid. Maybe you're looking for a war. Maybe you're just thinking, oh, the liberals are going to come get us. But we don't give a shit about you. We don't care about your fucking little neighborhoods, your shitty little towns. We don't give a fuck. And I want to tell you this because I know that sounds emotional. And it is. Because a lot of people have accused me of being a liberal over the years. You're a liberal. You're a liberal. Okay, fine. I'm a liberal. I care about people. I care about freedom and rights. And, for all the people who think Antifa would send in pallets of bricks to a city, have you ever heard of a hammer? It's much easier to break windows, okay? And apparently the White House, yes, the White House, Trump, retweeted or tweeted this video of supposedly all these piles of bricks. One of them was a stack of rocks that was inside a metal cage that was set as a barrier in front of a Jewish synagogue. And all the city officials have totally debunked all this shit. But these dumbass white supremacist motherfuckers keep fucking posting it because they think it's true. And I read an article earlier from a black cop, and he was talking about, it was pretty impactful. It said, in his experience, in his decade on their force, or a couple decades, he said, 15% of the cops follow the rules all the time. 15% of the cops will break the rules anytime they can to abuse their power. And 70% of the cops are just sitting waiting to see which side they will take. And that really made sense to me. If only 15% of the cops will follow the law all the time, then it's time to disband the police. And a lot of people are saying, well, what does that mean? It means putting that money into better opportunities for the neighborhoods. They had these bullshit claims about Antifa coming into Boise, Idaho, Klamath Falls, Oregon. Kevin, you're out there. I know you know what I'm talking about. Not Kevin Casey, the other Kevin Nelson. Hood River, Oregon. My brother said they blocked off the exits. The cops did because they thought Antifa was coming on buses. Sparta, Illinois. Toms River, New Jersey, and someplace in Indiana, I don't recall. And the greatest story I heard was in Forks, Washington. A school bus. And I'll tell you this because I've camped in Forks, Washington. It's a nice place. There's an Indian reservation out there, and the coast is just gorgeous. It's hard to get to, and it's kind of an isolated little peninsula in Washington state. And we've gone up there and camped. A school bus with 4 people in it, a multiracial couple, right, was heading out to go camping at the coast. They got stopped by a bunch of people who believed Antifa was coming to their town. Now, if you want to know how far this got, 7 carloads of people blocked them off on the highway and asked them where they were going, who they were, what they were doing. And they were just a family going fucking camping. So you want to talk about real world fears and trouble? You talk about the people who were assaulted and harassed on the highway while they were doing an American First Amendment fucking right to travel. And a bunch of these white supremacist motherfuckers stopped them on the side of the road and said, "Oh, we're going to stop you from traveling because we think you're Antifa. You guys are dumbasses. You're fucking stupid. I can't even believe you believe this shit. I really can't." And I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but there are some stupid motherfuckers out there. And when I say that, it reminds me of fucking George Carlin. God, he warned us of this. When the school bus with the family decided to leave or turn around, they said, "We're out of here." What did the citizens do? They felled trees onto the road to stop them from leaving. And it wasn't until a group of college students came in and said, "Hey, this is wrong. These aren't fucking criminals or Antifa," that they finally let these people go. Can you imagine how traumatized this family is now? By a bunch of ignorant fucking idiots in their stupid little small town thinking they're protecting themselves from Antifa and a big pallet load of bricks from some people in a school bus. They said that people, and here's the thing, my wife posted this, or put up this video earlier. She was, cast it onto the TV, and I was watching it from this, pretty normal looking guy about my age, maybe younger, in his 30s. He has a lot of subscribers on YouTube, and he's I don't know what his deal is. I've never seen him before, but I was somehow caught part of it, and he said, "Yeah, Antifa, he was falling into the brick bullshit." And he said, the comments in the comment section were just bullshit. And I called every one of them out. People were saying, "Oh yeah, a bunch of these Antifa scouts showed up in my town." And one of them was from Hood River, where my brother lives. And I said, bullshit. He said, "A bunch of scouts from Antifa showed up, but we scared them out of town." And a few different towns said this. And I would like to say, if there's anybody out there watching this who is angry at me, who says, "No, we really did chase Antifa out," prove it. Just fucking prove it. Show your video, show a photo. I mean, everybody has a cell phone. Show me where you scared Antifa out of your town, because Antifa is not an organization. My brother and I were talking about this. They're a loose collective of people with different ideals, but basically anarchists. I don't support them. But I find it hilarious that a loose collective of anarchists can scare an entire country of right-wingers with their guns into standing in the street and trying to defend businesses that have no threat against them. Scouts. Show me your scouts. Show me all these people that came to your town, all the brick piles. Really. The thing I've realized about this is that people who are extremely right-minded don't have any intention on ever admitting a mistake. And I've fucked up in the past. I've made mistakes. I've made errors in my life. I've said stupid shit. I've said things that I don't even agree with anymore. But you people cannot fucking even admit one failure. You are so proud of yourself. You're so arrogant that you follow this douchebag like Trump, who thinks that he knows what's best for everybody. The rumor that was spread about the bricks, I would like to tell you this. It was confirmed by many media sources to be a group called White Nationalist Group Identity Europa. It was a white nationalist group who was spreading the fake rumors and fucking over their own people into going in the streets and standing out there. You know, how offensive can you be to fucking offend your own people into wasting their time? Do you guys stand for anything? What is white supremacy? I would like to ask you this. If people are pulling over a school bus with American citizens and stopping them from traveling, who is the real threat to our democracy here? Think about it. If you're in the middle of somewhere, fine, you might think Antifa is throwing bottles at cops. But here are people stopping folks on the street with guns telling them they can't travel. This isn't just there. This happened all over the place. I saw one guy posting that a lot of people were traveling through my town with, plates from out of state. And I said, well, how do you know that's not always the case? How often do you sit on your streets and take down plate numbers and states? You're paranoid, people. Nobody gives a shit about your small ass fucking town. Nobody's coming to loot your goddamn permanent 24-hour yard sale. Nobody's coming to take anything out of your antique store or your gas station. And that's not to be offensive to people in small towns. It's to be offensive to people in small towns who think that everybody's coming to take their shit. Because you have bought into the biggest lie. And I know I'm emotional about this, but I wouldn't say emotional. I would say I'm very firm on how I believe and what I believe. And, Antifa, to me, is nothing more than a bunch of kids throwing trash cans and bottles at cops. If you think it's bigger, that's your own problem. And there's all this talk about it's the Democrat states that are failing. Oh, the Democrat states. I've heard a lot about this lately. Let me tell you that the blue states fund the red states because of all your goddamn use of the government funds. Now, that's not to be harsh to anybody who needs government funds. It's to make a point. The blue states actually cover people like Mitch McConnell's state of Kentucky, which actually siphons and leeches off of my state and other states. It's a fact. And these are the same people who say that liberals are just trying to get free stuff, right? It's the Trump show. I had this vision earlier of this Trump walking through the blue wall, like in the Truman Show. But I thought, no, that's not appropriate. It would have to be Trump supporters walking through that blue door. Because at this point, if you still support that moron, you're deluded. You are a strongman believer, and you really think that authority is going to beat rationality and a society that has a different opinion. If you don't see the people standing in the streets right now, if you don't see the amount of people who are pissed off, you are completely lost. I thought about this, about being lost at sea, as a metaphor. I thought, how could I went to the vape shop today and I thought, how can I make this a metaphor that makes sense to me? I thought about all of us collectively fighting for what's right. And I thought, it's like being lost at sea. You hear stories about people who float and float, and they try to survive, and at some point they just kind of start to give up. There's nothing, there's no land, it's just constant sea. But then they see land. It may be far off in a distance. Maybe they even see just a seagull or something. And they get this second wind. And they paddle like a motherfucker to get to that shore. And I think that that's where we're at right now. Protests today were bigger than they've been ever. And they're going to continue to grow. And I know a lot of people oppose that. A lot of people want to get back to normal. A lot of people say, oh, well, now the protesters don't care about COVID. Fuck all that. Here we are. We're trying to make change. And there are a lot of idiots out there believing complete propaganda. And, I want to finalize this with a point. one particular case of extreme police force that if this doesn't make you disrespect the whole system, nothing will. This one goes out to Timothy Russell and Melissa Williams. They were homeless people who were in a car parked on the road. The cops ran their tags, couldn't find anything wrong, so they decided to harass them for something else. And they tried to pull them over, and they took off driving. This couple evaded police for, I believe it was, 22 miles? A 22-mile chase. And when they finally parked in a parking lot, the officers shot into their car 137 times. Not 10, not 5, not 50, but 137 times. Officer Braylow was his name, the main guy who was the main officer, and he fired his own firearm a total of 49 times into that car. Because they failed to use a turn signal. That was the charge they claimed. Now, I think that the male got shot 23 times and the female was shot 24 times. If anybody knows about guns, that's 2 clips in each fucking person. And there were 62 police cars involved in this chase and in this arrest, if you want to call it that. There was no weapon found on the scene. Thanks for listening.